Miss Dana, are we good? Ready to go? Okay. I'm going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, April 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Star City Hall. I'd like to ask you all to please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight's invocation is by President Jeff Gravitt from the Star Stake of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yes, sir. Up here, please. And I think, is the microphone on? Okay, good. Thank you, sir.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this evening with gratitude in our hearts, gratitude for the opportunity we have to meet tonight. We grateful also for the opportunity we have to live in this community of Star, for the opportunity to live in this great state of Idaho and this country. We are mindful of the liberties and the freedoms that we enjoy. We ask thee to bless the proceedings of this meeting tonight. We ask thee to bless all those who participate, that they might be able to speak with clarity. We ask you to bless that the discussions that take place tonight might happen in a spirit of understanding and respect, that much might be accomplished. We ask you to bless the members of the city council and our mayor, that they, as they make decisions on behalf of our community, that they might make those decisions in the best interest of our community. We again are grateful for the opportunity we have to live in this area. Bless us as we face the challenges that are before us, that we might be able to continue to prosper here. We are grateful for this opportunity. This past weekend, we've had to remember and celebrate the life and the atoning sacrifice of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Bless us to always remember him and the example that he set. Help us to have a desire to strive to be like him and to follow the example he has set. Again, we ask you to bless the proceedings of this meeting this night, and been grateful for all the blessings we have received. We recognize that all good things come from thee. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Okay, roll call.
David Hershey is excused. Kevin Wheelock.
Here.
Trevor Chadwick.
Here.
Jennifer Salmonson.
Here.
Kevin Nielsen.
Present. Okay. Councilman Hershey got called away because of the fires. Just so you guys are aware. So he is in another state right now. So presentations tonight. Chief, we got Chief Zach Hessing to come up to do an introduction.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to come
Hey,
present.
Chief, sorry, will you tap on that mic? I want to, okay, all right. Just want to make sure.
Is it close enough?
Yep.
Chief Zach Hessing, Star Police Department. It feels like I'm up here every other city council meeting and introducing somebody new. Just to recap, Deputy Mark Merrill, who was with us just for a short stint for about 6 months, he put in to be a canine handler and ended up getting that assignment. And so since the city of Star doesn't have any canines, we had to send him to South County, and we have the opportunity to introduce Deputy Jason Wilcock. So Wilcock, if you want to come up here. So Deputy Wilcock, he's been with the Eddington County Sheriff's Office for just over 15 years. He started, he was going to Boise State in 2007, and somebody encouraged him to put in to work for Ada County and work in the jail there. So he did, started working in the jail, and then finished his studies at Boise State. In 2013, he ended up going to patrol for Ada County. And he's worked in several different areas to include, South County, North County, Eagle, and Star. He actually was out here in Star for one summer, filling in for Deputy Brecken back when Chief Laraway was here. So he was in 2015, I think, summer 2015. So he's done that. Also, he was part of the crisis intervention team, CIT team, that essentially 2 deputies right now that Ada County has that go around and help with people going through a crisis, to include a mental crisis. So he's got a lot of experience there. He did almost 3 years on that team, and now he's back out and back with us. So he also has a 7-year-old son named Jude. And Jude loves his 3 dogs, and he's got a pet lizard as well. So we're grateful for Deputy Wilcock coming out here and the experience he brings, and the opportunity to welcome again to the city of Stars. Welcome.
Welcome. You want to say anything? We always make somebody's.
I just, this is my second full week at work out here in Star. And somehow between now and 2015, the town is even friendlier than I left it last time. Everybody is so nice. I almost feel guilty, so I can't buy coffee. I can't buy my lunch. I can't do anything. So it's been a real treat. It's been nice. A little different than my last assignment.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying it. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you for coming to Star. So thank you. All right, and Chief's got a report for the month of March.
Yes, this continuing on with we did the January, February, now the March police report, kind of going through real quickly. I know we have quite a bit on the agenda tonight, but real quickly what the report looks like. For the month of March, we had a total of, and then these numbers are coming from our incident, our ITS system, which is our report writing system. So these aren't NIBRS numbers. They're different than what NIBRS will be more, I guess, accurate at the tail end, because when we get a reported crime, we investigate it and then we send it to prosecution. And that's when NIBRS looks at it actually to see if it's going to prosecution. But these are the ones we're actually investigating to see if a crime was committed, and that will be sent to the prosecutor's office for a decision there. So here in the city of Star, we had a total of 22 crimes in March, 12 person crimes, 7 property crimes, and 3 society crimes. Again, the explanation of those are on the right side there in the brown block. This report is also on the Star City website. So anybody that's interested to see and go through and look at that, I encourage you to do so. And if you have any questions about it, absolutely give me a call and we can go through it. But again, the projected case type by population, so it's 14.9 per thousand population wise, which is a little higher in 2021, but lower than 2020. So I think we're doing a good job there. To skip down for police activity, I think this is where I find most things I'm looking at for any type of crime trend or anything that's going on, and seeing what's happening in the city of Stars, mostly underneath here. Citizens call for service. I take a quick, take quite a bit looking at this, because this shows proactive policing and how many times a citizen calls for police. And again, just to explain that, proactive policing is any time a officer actually initiates the call rather than somebody calling in. So whether that be traffic stops or if it be pedestrian stops in the middle of the night of people walking around with a backpack on, or different things, we want to maybe stop and talk and see what's going on. That's what the proactive policing is. And citizen calls for service, that's when somebody calls either the non-emergency number or the 911 number and actually requests for a deputy to come by and wants to report something occurring. So I'm happy to report that it's going up. More proactive policing is occurring. We had in March of 22, we had a total of 241 citizens call for service, which is up a little bit from February. But if you look in March of 21, so a year ago, we're down about 31 calls for service from 272 down to 241. The proactive policing, however, if you look at that, it's gone up quite a bit. Now in February, that's when we added those 2 new positions out in Star that was in the budget starting October 1. We actually got them trained and out working, and that's helped tremendously with our proactive service out there. And so for March of 22, it's 859 proactive policing. If you look back in March of 21, it was 491. And then if you look at February 22, it was 699. So we're up with that. I look at the ratio, and it's 3.5 to 1. So about 3.5 proactive calls that officers are going to 1. I call it kind of a reactive call or a citizen calling for service. And the best we can do on that ratio, it kind of shows that crime rate drops. More proactive we are, it usually shows that crime rate kind of drops off, and different circumstances can arise. But that's kind of what I look at to see what we're doing. The selected calls, the one thing that went up quite a bit in March was domestic violence calls did go up to 8 calls for the total for the month, compared to the month before was 4. Then school checks is up. We're doing a lot more school checks at 73 school checks from March 22. That would include the Star Elementary and Star Middle School. So we're getting out, seeing the schools and making sure we're showing a presence there. We have had a tremendous increase. We have a deputy out here that he loves doing traffic stops. He really enjoys doing that. So we've had an increase in traffic stops. And I think it's good to note that He started in February, well, in March, and again, there can be several things that kind of can show what's going on in different circumstances. But if we look at March 22 on crash response, we're looking at 17 for the total month of March, where February was 23. And a year ago, it was 27. So we dropped in crash accidents by 10. So I think, again, there's several things that can go into that show, but I think part of that is making more of a presence out there and getting people slow down and making those traffic stops. So I appreciate the hard work of the Star police officers in doing that. The only thing I want to note that we keep a real close eye is the code 3 response times. Again, we did a decent job in March of total code 3 response times was or time to get there. So when somebody calls 911 asking for help, code 3 means lights and siren. And we're going there, trying to get there again safe as possible, but as quick as possible. Was 3 minutes and 22 seconds. And anything underneath that 4.5 minute mark is good. So we're doing a good job there. And I know that last time Councilwoman Solomon asked how many code 3 response we had. So I had him add it to the report. For some reason, it didn't make it on this one. But for March, there was 11 total code 3 response times. So that's the report. Any questions?
Any questions of Chief?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
I just want to know if the average of 3.14, was that purposely full for March?
Yeah. No, but it turned out that way.
All right. No, thank you. Really appreciate the report and the hard work of the new deputies. You can share with our new deputy. I'm a little disappointed. February had 136 and March had 131 stops. So
Right.
we've got a reputation to keep up here. So.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Item 4C, the proclamation for the Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Denim Day. Do we have anybody here from the Women and Children's Alliance? By chance? Okay. Hang on one second here. So I'm going to read this proclamation. Okay. City of Star Proclamation, whereas the United States government has declared April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and the Women and Children's Alliance has declared April 27, 2022 as Denim Day. And whereas both events are intended to draw attention to the fact that rape and sexual assault remains a serious issue in our society. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Denim Day were also instituted to call attention to misconceptions and misinformation about rape and sexual assault, and the problem that meeting society remained disturbingly uninformed with respect to issues of assault and forcible rape. And whereas with proper education on the matter, there is a compelling evidence that we can successfully reduce incidents of this alarming and psychologically damaging crime. And whereas the City of Star is an important partner in the Women and Children's Alliance efforts to educate our community about the true impact of rape and sexual assault. Therefore, I, Mayor Trevor Chadwick, do hereby proclaim April 27, 2022 as Denim Day for Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Star. Encourage all citizens to speak out against sexual assault and support local efforts to provide help and healing to victims of these crimes. Signed this 19th day of April 2022. So thank you. So it's very important that we look out for our fellow citizens here and make sure that this stuff doesn't happen, because it's garbage, right? I mean, it's not healthy at all. So, all right. So item 5, consent agenda.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman,
I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of item 5A, December 7th, 2021 City Council meeting minutes, 5B, January 4th, 2022 City Council meeting minutes, item 5C, approval of claims provided and previously approved, and item 5D, findings of fact for the Life Springs Church.
okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Salmonson.
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, with that, that motion carries. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 6A, the contract for our plumbing contract. So our current contract for our plumbing inspection services, he's retiring. So this gentleman, Mr. John's, is it Stocky or Stoke? Stoke is, was an inspector, worked for him as well, and is going to take over the contract if you choose to approve. So I would entertain a motion to approve this contract.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
is there anything materially changing between this contract and the one other than the provider of service?
No, everything stays the same as far as the fees and whatnot.
Thank you. I move that we approve.
Okay, we got a motion to approve.
Second,
We got a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock. Aye. Salmonson,
aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. On item 6B, we are looking to approve ordinance 363-2022.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman?
I need to introduce, right?
Yep.
I move to introduce ordinance number 363-2022, development agreement for Josh Kinney annexation.
Okay,
I'll second.
we don't do a second or anything, right? Oh, we do. Okay, gotcha. We got the introduction of second. Any further discussion? At the same time, right? Suspend the rules.
Can I add that?
Yep.
Or do I need to read it right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Just so it's part of your motion. So and that.
Okay, so I made my motion and that pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-902, the rule requiring an ordinance to be read on 3 different days with 1 reading to be in full be dispensed with, and that ordinance number 363-2022 be considered after reading once by title only.
Okay, we got a motion. We got a second.
Second,
Got a motion, second. Any further discussion?
just highlight, I second the amended motion.
Just second the amended motion. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay. We suspended the rules. Now we need approval of the ordinance.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman,
I move to approve ordinance number 363-2022 and development agreement Josh Kinney annexation, an ordinance annexing to the city of Star certain real property located in the unincorporated area of Ada County, Idaho, more specifically located at 8675 West Floating Feather Road in Star, Idaho. Ada County parcels R5437560010, R5437560210, R5437560215, R5437560220, and R5437560230, and contiguous to the city of Star. The property is owned by Josh Kinney, establishing the zoning classification of the annexed property as mixed use, MUDA, and residential, R-1-DA, with a development agreement of approximately 25.07 acres, directing that certified copies of this ordinance be filed as provided by law, providing for related matters and providing for an effective date.
okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
it took me a second. There was a part of the reading that was left out. Do we need to reread the whole thing or just go back to the part that was left out? Mixed use, and then we missed the with a planned unit development.
PUD, mixed use PUD-DA. Chris, can we just modify it with that?
Yeah, you can just correct it.
Okay,
You don't have to reread the whole thing.
Sorry, it's stated differently on the agenda.
well, it's right here, right? So just modify your motion with the PUD.
Yes, I modify my motion to add the PUD.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None? Hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Item 6C, the comprehensive plan, future land use map. We're gonna have Sean speak to this because we're working on our comprehensive plan, updating this and working on reducing densities throughout the city.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you. As you know, staff is working on not only the zoning ordinance revisions, but also the comprehensive plan, future land use map, and some text. So what I've got before you today is a starting point for us to start discussing the future land use map and some of our future land use designations throughout the city. So if you guys can see on your screen, and then I did provided you with a paper copy, kind of small, but what we would be introducing would be a couple of new designations. Those are found at the top of the page in red. Rural residential would stay the same, which is 1 unit per 2 acres, up to 1 unit per 5 acres. We would add a new designation, low density residential, which is listed as LDR on your map for reference. And that'd be a density of 1 dwelling unit per acre. The estate residential would become the state rural residential, ERR, and would be 1 to 2 dwelling units per acre, followed by a state urban residential, which is EUR. That's 1 to 3 dwelling units per acre. And then you would still have your neighborhood residential at 3 to 5, compact residential, and so on. So basically what is proposed here this evening or open for discussion is the removal of most of the neighborhood residential, with the exception of anything that's already in the process and existing zoned property. But everything else would be, I guess, down designated to the yellow, which is the estate urban residential. And then we have some areas that we've talked about, particularly along Foothill Boulevard, that we would have both sides of Foothill would be proposed at LDR on both sides of the road, with the LDR, which is the 1 unit per acre north of Foothill. I also show that the area around Hillsdale, which is mostly part of the Willowbrook property, would be a state rural residential 1 to 2 units per acre. I keep in mind that Hillsdale or Willowbrook's already been submitted and accepted under the current comprehensive plan. However, if they were to reapply or put in for new application, that new designation would apply at that time.
You got more?
Hang on a second,
Okay.
I'm trying to summarize. There's a lot of that's just detail on existing subdivisions. We'll go ahead and change the designations to represent the current subdivisions that have been built. We also are adding at the intersection of Pollard and Highway 16. The corner would be commercial, and immediately adjacent on the west would be a little piece of mixed use to fill in that existing commercial designation that's already there. Also, we would change the recently purchased portion of the school district property from public to the estate urban residential designation. Down south of State Street, west of Highway 16, that the area that we had the Landon Village development, it was recommended that staff take a look at that area, which is currently compact, residential, and mixed use. And so staff would propose that we change that to a urban renewal, excuse me, urban renewal, sorry, urban, let me get back here.
Estate urban.
Estate urban residential. That would be compatible with the Heron River subdivision. And towards the west side of the comprehensive plan map, Kingsbury and Highway 44, we would extend a area of mixed use along the future alignment of Kingsbury south of 44. We would also create a transitional overlay for the Layton Lakes subdivision. And then the other areas that we're reducing the density from the 3 to 5 dwelling units per acre with the neighborhood residential down to the estate urban residential.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
On the transitional overlay, is that consistent with our existing definition of transitional overlay, or are there new?
It'd be consistent with our existing transitional definition. Yep. And that was requested by that developer to include that.
Okay.
And then finally, we'll change the entire designation of the recently adopted south of the river area plan. That'll just change to one solid color, and then the reference would be to the specific map that's in the comprehensive plan that will break down those individual properties that we've recently approved through that area plan. So I'll let you guys kind of take this home and dwell on it a little bit. And if you want to, I can bring it back before you on May 3rd. We can continue the discussion. I'll go ahead and have our city engineer draft it up, and then we can kind of further discuss the proposed changes and any changes you might want to further consider.
Okay.
I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Mayor, there's no voting or nothing on this. This is just informational at this point. So,
Mayor,
Councilman?
are there text changes, did you say, that are coming along with this?
Those will come probably May 3rd. I'll have that first round of those. A lot of it, or most of it, is the south of the river text. Some of Councilwoman Salmonson's changes to the open space and parks section. And what else do we have, Mayor? I think
the public safety section.
We'll also update some of our outdated building and open space area map or graphs that are were back in 2018. They've changed quite a bit.
So is the plan to introduce those texts on the 3rd?
Yeah.
But no vote. That's just the introduction and consideration. Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions of staff? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Sean. So our whole goal there is to, we recognize that we need to make some changes with densities and stuff around the area. So that's the whole purpose of doing a deep dive into that. So, all right, on to item, let's see here. Let me find it. We're going to be moving on now to our public hearings. We're going to actually move item 7D up to the first thing we're going to hear, which is the public hearing for 1,206 West State Street Development Agreement Modification. Just for everybody's, make sure that you please sign up on the sheets back there to speak at the public hearing. Just a little bit of items, housekeeping items for that. I'll open the public hearing. I'll ask the council if there's any ex parte contact or communication. The applicant has up to 20 minutes to present their project. The council can ask the applicant any questions and staff questions. Public testimony is going to be 3 minutes per person. Typically, we try to get those who are for the project to speak first, those that are against to speak next, and those who are neither for or against to speak third. The council can ask the individual speaking follow-up questions that does not count towards their 3 minutes. The applicant get a rebuttal of 10 minutes. Then the council can ask the applicant and staff questions. I will close the public hearing. The council will deliberate, and a motion is either going to be made to approve with conditions, deny, or table the application to a date certain in the future. So I appreciate everybody coming out here to our city council meeting, and we want to keep these meetings you're speaking at a quasi judicial hearing, so we want to make sure that there's no cheering, clapping, jeering, or speaking out during the hearing. Only the person at the podium has the floor at that time. So I appreciate that, and we're going to start with asking everybody here on council, do you have any ex parte, I'm sorry, I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:30 for the 10206 West State Street. I'm going to ask council if you have any ex parte contact or communication regarding this project.
None.
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 Okay, hearing none. Where's Jeff? There we are, sir. The floor is yours, and what would you like me to bring up? Oh, yeah,
I'll get
sorry,
there.
give your
That's
name and
right.
address, please, for the record.
Jeff Likes, 1119 East State Street, Eagle, Idaho. If you'll bring up just the site plan first. I'll go over that first. And good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. We're here tonight to discuss hopefully a quick DA modification to that project located at 10206 West State. We went through the development agreement a few months ago, went through a rezone to a CBD zone. And we went in for design review, got approved there. We're actually working on construction drawings now, but we need to look at, we're asking for a DA modification for our height limit of 45 feet. And currently we have 4310 or so on our elevations. And that's the gable. You want to go, the renderings will work too. That is the gable elevations. Those have not changed for what you guys saw a few months ago, just so you're aware. And so those gable ends there are just about 43, 44 feet high there at the peak. And our second thing we're asking for is a reduction in parking. Yeah, the CBD zone allows for a 50% parking reduction. We are not asking for near that much. Again, the site plan hasn't changed from before. We have 98 parking stalls. I'm gonna bring that site plan up, Trevor, just so I can show you where it is. So the front two buildings, the 10,000 and the 14,000. And then there's a 7,000 and a 3,600. The back two buildings will most likely go retail office, just because it's tough to, probably more like office, a little tougher to do retail back there. So currently we have 98 stalls for 34,000 square feet of retail. Parking ratio of 1 per 353. For Star City Code calls for an average blend of a retail restaurant of 1 per 250. And so we're asking just for a little bit reduction there to allow, and to give you some kind of history on how that site will work, and maybe you guys know, but typically office retail uses are, more daytime hours. Restaurant uses, which are what we are planning on those first two buildings, are more nighttime uses. So the parking kind of gets shared between those two uses. And so if you have any questions, I can answer any questions.
So real quick, Mr. Jeff, what'd you say the total would have been at 1 per 250? You have that number?
I can tell you.
You're an architect.
Yeah.
You could do math quickly, right?
No, come on. 138.
138, okay. All right, any questions of the applicant?
Yeah,
Councilman Wheelock?
yeah. So we're going from 138 to what?
98 currently. That is on the south side of the future First Street.
If we share some of the, what if we meet you in the middle with that? And lose 20 spaces instead of 40?
We'll
Is
have
there-
to go.
Is there a way to look at that?
Well, we've maximized this site one for maxed out our square feet of we'd like to build more square footage, which was actually part of our initial, which came in for 4 or 5 months ago. We talked about building more square feet than what, typically we would build. We got 2 stories in the front, single stories in the back. So that's why we're also, typically that building up front, the 10,000 is a 5,000 square foot footprint. But we have a user that wants 3/4 of that building, and the top floor being the whole portion of one user. We have a restaurant user that's taken that almost the whole building. And then the second building right now, we have a restaurant user looking at the whole entire, which is 7,000 square feet of that building as well on the second floor. Because there's outdoor patio there too. So we would have to lose square footage in the buildings to make that happen. And I guess during our initial presentation, we wanted more building to be able to fill up, more commercial there.
Any other questions? Oh, hang on a sec here. So you said meet in the middle, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to throw some numbers in there. So you would lose 5,000 square feet if you were to cut out.
You pretty much lose that whole, let's call it the whole 7,000 or roughly 5,000 square feet of building to put about 20 spaces in. And the CBD zone does allow for the parking reduction of 50% as well. So, and I know we're promoting a walkable downtown.
Jeff, what percentage were you asking for? Did you state?
Well, the CBD zone just is the part allowable of 50%, but we would only need at this point.
It's like a 29% reduction.
Yeah,
Mayor
What it
Chadwick,
is.
29.
Councilman Nielsen?
do we have a view or an elevation that shows adjacent properties? And maybe I'll ask it a different way. I'm not sure if I'm recalling this application or another one. And so being able to see what's adjacent to it would help me know if I'm remembering the correct public hearing. But what I'm recalling is,
I think this is called Whitener before, right? Yeah, this is called the Whitener project before.
yeah, I'm not
You
sure.
don't remember that one?
I'm sure that helps. If it was the White Snake project, I'd be with you.
White Snake, all right.
Thank you. So what's in my mind though, I can't remember if we already had the parking discussion with the applicant. Because what I'm thinking is in the initial hearing that we had quite the discussion over parking and even reduced it from what was originally asked. But if that's not this hearing, then then strike that from the record. That type of thing.
So the properties next to it, there are Brunel's property to the east. I'm sorry, to the west, and then Marv West property to the east of that. Correct?
Correct.
And Brunel's property would include the
It's the Star Vet.
and the grooming place, that separate building next door.
Okay, so this is in between there and Seneca Springs Drive.
Well, Marv West, and then there's another property before Seneca Springs.
Got it. Okay.
Another one.
Different application.
That direction.
That direction.
Different application.
Yep.
All right, I'm with you. Thank you.
Yeah. But we did have a parking conversation
We did, yeah.
during our initial.
But it's a different one that I'm thinking of. 'Cause
You're right. You're probably talking about
The other
one,
applicant,
two
we
over.
beat up pretty bad, so. Figuratively, ladies and gentlemen.
Any questions currently for applicant at this time?
No, not really. No,
Not-
no questions.
Councilwoman?
Would it be helpful, like, if we did something with the hours so that, people in the back, if those are office spaces, I know it's tough with the, commercial and you don't want to limit business, but just to encourage that, that all 4 of them are not, crammed full.
Yeah, there is a parking, a parking, cross parking agreement, cross access agreement between all 4 properties. Well, between all 4 buildings, we'll say, right? And then what you're saying about trying to limit, people in these kind of complexes generally just share parking. And
And for a business, I would guess that they're looking at parking. when they are gonna go into a space like this, and they're, they need customers a place, they want to make sure their customers have a place to park too, or that they can get there.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And most downtowns, which we are considered this a downtown area, parking is usually reduced quite a bit. If we look at Boise, Meridian, the downtown parkings, just because people learn to walk. And I mean, it is a thing. We will get there in Star.
It's a long
mean-
walk
Yeah.
from my place.
And
It is a long walk from your
Yeah.
place, but we're getting there too. And there's a sidewalk all the way. There will be.
And I understand that, we have, but, we have parking issues now. And so what are we gonna do in the meantime, to accommodate so that people aren't parking in somebody's house or at the veterinarian or whatever? So,
Let me ask this. Can I ask this
Yeah.
question real quick? So what it would take to put that 3,600 feet on top of that 7,000 and just create that additional parking there at that 3,600 foot spot? You see what I mean?
Professionally speaking, the second tier
Yeah.
of buildings,
Yeah.
it's harder to lease a second floor for office.
Okay.
And the cost goes up dramatically in terms of building it.
Okay. Any further questions of the applicant? You come back and ask him here in just a minute too. So if you think about it, you got more,
I'll come back.
come back? Okay. We'll come back to you here in a minute there. So I have, I just want to make sure, Mr. Dan Frost signed up. Did you not, you didn't sign up to speak? No? Okay. All right. And then Michael Keys, where are you at? Did you want to speak? Okay.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I'm Michael Keys, 338 South Long Bay Way. I do recall roughing up an applicant one evening. Very respectfully though, but yeah, when I downloaded the packet on Friday, I didn't see these elevations. They weren't there. I didn't see them until this evening. So which is why I wrote down that I was undecided, but I see what the applicant's trying to do here. And at this point, I'm supportive of it. But I would ask that you, since you're amending the development agreement, that you get something out of it also. The first is that since this was originally established, STAR has adopted a new architectural overlay district, and this property fits within that district. And so I would ask that you also modify the development agreement that would include the applicant fall under the standards in that overlay district. Second thing is, I don't know if it's in the plan or not, but I would also like to ask that First Street get built in this phase so we can get started on that long overdue project. And the third thing is somewhat related. STAR's had a height ordinance of 35 feet for a long time. This is the third, I think, variance or development agreement modification that we've done for that. And it's probably high time the city revisit that 35-foot height ordinance and figure out what it really ought to be, because we're obviously blowing past 35 on potentially 3 occasions. That's all I have. Thank you.
So just real quick, Michael, the architectural overlay so this falls into that, the way he designed it, that's up there now, you see it falls within that. You're just asking us to put it in the development agreement language, is what you're
In the
saying?
Development agreement language that he will abide by the requirements in the architectural overlay district.
Okay.
Mayor Chadwick,
Thanks.
Councilman Nielsen,
Mr. Keys,
hang on, Michael. You can't get away that fast.
you were involved in this first one and the overlay district, so you get questions. Are there specific things that you've got in mind that this application does not fit within that overlay district that you want to make sure that are called out?
I don't have enough detail to know. I just know that we put this new district in place and it's going to take many, many years for that to make enough difference for people to see, and we might as well start here.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, that's all that signed up to speak there. Mr. Jeff, would you like to come up and rebut anything?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can actually say that we submitted prior to the overlay district being adopted, but we did design to the overlay district. As part of that, and to answer his question, First Street is being built in this first phase. with this as well. I don't know if it'd be called First Street, but it is being built as part of our first phase.
Would you, anybody want to ask Mr. Jeff questions? Any follow-ups there?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
So because you're already designed, not because, but seeing that you've already designed to the overlay district, do you have any qualms about adding that language to the development agreement?
No.
Okay. That would be all my questions at this point.
Okay, Councilwoman,
This might be for staff and.
you can ask staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we, like, we don't have a parking fund set up, but could we request like some sort of funding for a future parking lot? Doesn't have to be the entire thing, but you know, maybe we could figure that out. So figure out, 38 spaces and how much, that would be. I don't know if that's a question
Like
for
trying to create a
staff
future
or for
downtown-
the applicant. Yeah.
So,
right.
so to go towards a future downtown parking for overlay. I mean, that's kind of a good solution too, in a way.
So in lieu of ordinance that would, you could basically buy parking spaces, is what you're saying.
Yeah, for a
That's something
future downtown
we'd have to
parking.
build that into our new code. We don't have anything currently in there, but I guess when we start reviewing the new zoning ordinance, we could definitely add that to it.
But we could ask for it in the development agreement since we're modifying it today, right?
You can. My concern is that you don't have any, to my understanding, maybe I'm wrong, so if I am, correct me. My understanding is the city does not have any current plan to build its own parking facility.
So I will just real quick, we have asked for, we put some requests in for some grants for downtown parking study. And so we can look at facilities like this. And my thought would be if you were to do something like she's asking, you would sunset it after so many years. If it doesn't happen, then give the money back.
And which is fine. Like I said, I'm just concerned that there's no plan currently
In
at all.
place,
Yeah.
right.
So typically you could do something like, impact fees for parking. And then anybody that's going to build in the central business district or some area, you would just collect impact fees as part of their project. So that's one option. Another part of this is your code currently allows, as I understand it, a reduction in parking when you're in the central business district. He's not asking for anything beyond that. He's asking for what's already allowed in your code. And so to say, well, our code allows it, but we're going to make you pay for it anyway, is a little hard to do. And we have the kind of our program with ITD, but that's also allowed by state code. Since they can't do impact fees, we can do developer agreements and collect money, but it still goes to a project that has been identified. And so to collect money for a project that doesn't exist, even impact fees, right? We do capital improvement plans. We show where all those parks are for our park improvement or park impact fees. And so I think I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, but I think we're a little premature asking it out of this project because we don't have the support to determine even what that appropriate fee is. So those are just my concerns with doing it tonight.
And that makes sense, but I think it's something we need to work on.
Okay, we'll make sure staff has it down for that. So, any further questions of Mr. Jeff here before we turn him loose?
Sorry, one more thing. So it is that height extension is just for the commercial. It's not for the residential units, right?
Mr. Mayor, Jennifer, yes, at this point, it's just for the commercial.
Yeah.
We haven't designed the townhomes yet.
And we can put that in the development agreement saying that 45 height limit is specific to these commercial buildings on there.
What if we put it to specifically to the front commercial
You
buildings?
you can do that too, yeah. It just doesn't sound like he's gonna build anything on the second side as a two-story.
Not a
building.
2-story.
Yeah. Yep.
And if we do, we'll stay under the 45.
Okay. Any further questions of the applicant before I turn him loose? Councilman Wheelock, anything? No? Okay, thank you, Jeff. We'll turn you loose there and we are going to close the public hearing and go to council deliberations. And it's 7:49. Okay,
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
I think generally I'm supportive of the modification. Really appreciate Councilwoman Salmonson, the idea to to start thinking about and putting some infrastructure in place that we can plan and prepare for parking. I think this applicant and this application really kind of highlight that need. My thought is in the CBD, yeah, it's okay to reduce parking, but people have to park somewhere. And so the plan or the ability to reduce it is just to highlight that it's not needed in this area. That's the way I interpret it. That means it's needed somewhere else. And there, I think we do have opportunity to place that parking elsewhere. Especially since our plan and overlay district and CBD ordinances all call for the type of walkability and pedestrian access that support that. So I'm comfortable with the decision on this one. I don't think that I'm comfortable moving ahead on future applications until we have something in place that we can address that. So.
Okay. Further, Councilman Wheelock?
Yeah, as you look at the townhomes that are going to be built behind it and the 24-foot wide roads, probably good I wasn't on the council then. I think those are too narrow and you're going to end up squeezing some of those townhomes parking into this future parking lot that is going to also push for more parking, in my opinion. As I see those townhomes there's relatively no visitor parking, which is all going to come to that front row. I think we'd stick to where we're supposed to be in the ordinance, even if it's at a sacrifice to the size. That's my opinion.
But are you willing to go the 20 that you suggested?
Yeah, I'm willing to split the difference, but I feel like going the whole way is too far for me.
Okay.
Even though I like the view of the project, looks great to me, but you've got to have parking.
Yeah, so I did not thinking about it, didn't consider the townhomes, and I think that that's an excellent point. If there's visitors there, they will be using that space. And so, yeah, I would be willing to split the middle. But yeah, I don't think I think that's the only way that I can do it.
So let me ask this question here of you guys. I'm just thinking here a little bit outside the box too. So what if you were to split the middle where they lose the 3,600 square foot future office with the understanding that if we come up with a downtown parking thing with cross agreements, like with the west property to the west or east, that doesn't sound right? Marv West property on the east side, that they could come back and add that building in the future.
So if the Marv Jensen property provides parking for the townhomes.
Well, it'll be cross access parking
Similar.
for all the way across that whole. My vision is not just piece by piece, but what does that whole entire thing look like for parking all the way across that, right?
So similar to like the Napa Auto Parts and Bimart. I think
Correct.
they have some sort of shared
Right.
parking agreement.
Yep.
And that's different properties. Yeah, I think that would be.
I mean,
I think that'd be a good solution. And, I don't want to see a sea of parking in our downtown area. And, yeah, really want to have a walking, pedestrian friendly community. But we're not there yet. And we don't even have plans, so.
Plans on what?
For the parking, how are we going to address it
okay.
as this commercial stuff is coming in?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think a partnership with the next door one would be great.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I entertain a motion one way or the other.
I would make a motion that we approve it with the 20 more parking spots. I'm good with a future development agreement that accepts that cross parking with a neighbor as separating off that 3,600 square foot future office until that agreement is made.
Okay,
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
Councilman Wheelock, what do you think about the idea of, one of the things I like to be cognizant of is just the cost of people having to come back over and over. If that's agreeable to us, why don't we put it in the development agreement now that the obtaining of such agreement would make that possible without having to come back and do another modification?
I would totally support that.
Okay.
So that
Is that good, Sean? I just want to make sure that, and Chris,
So
that we're okay with that?
is it just the shared parking next door? Would it be after an ordinance is in place that we could collect money for a future parking lot? I mean, how do you want to word it? What kind of options do you want to give in that?
I'd rather have it be tied to the neighbor, one way or the other,
East or west?
east or west. And rather than tie it to a future parking lot somewhere in town, it's still gonna need to park cars there somewhere.
So,
And they could always come back and ask for a modification to the development agreement again if
Yeah.
things change in the future. So,
They could, but if that's,
but let's get your wording in that you want for now, so they don't have to come back for just initial.
well, and yeah, not my wording, but I mean, it's your motion.
so restate your motion for Jacob so he has it clear.
Hey, it's my first one.
You're doing great.
So I would make a motion that we would approve it without the 3,600 square foot other office building until there was a cross parking agreement between the east or the west property. And if they could acquire that, that it would alleviate and we could approve that 3,600 square foot building permit, if you will. Is that right?
No, Chris is
Chris is going
thinking
crazy.
heavily there.
Do you want to tie specifically to the building, or do you want to tie it to a specific number of parking spaces?
I'm assuming that's with this drawing, it ties it to the number of parking spaces because of that building.
Yeah, so I would recommend, if the council's concerned about the number of spaces, I would make that the condition of the development agreement rather than the building. He mentioned it as
So it's
public testimony that he'd probably have to lose the building to put in those spaces, but
2,000 or 218 parking spots,
118.
118.
It'd be
parking
118 parking spots.
spots. The 20.
138 is the required number.
Yeah.
And so he was asking for 98.
So
And so the council's go
118.
118, correct. So I would make that the requirement of the
That
development
there be
agreement.
118 parking spots inside this development agreement
And yeah,
until there was a cross parking.
so the motion is to approve it. Let's just make sure I understand it. To approve it with 118 parking stalls until such time that they have a cross parking agreement with either the east or west property to allow them to build that extra facility and reduce it back down to 98. Right?
Correct.
And I believe we want to add the development or the architectural overlay
Right.
piece
Architectural overlay and the development
and the
agreement.
height
With
waiver.
with the architectural agreement of
The architectural overlay.
rural mountain residential, what is it?
Well, it just our, yeah, architectural guidelines.
Architectural guidelines for the central business district
Correct.
and what was the other piece?
And-
Well, when he approves it, the height waiver is already in there.
And the height waiver that's already to be approved at 44, 45 feet.
Okay,
Yep, go ahead.
Please, Jen.
Oh, go ahead and second that.
okay, we got a motion and we got a second. We got any further discussion?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
Thank you, Councilwoman Selmanson, for getting us there. Because I was going to ask this question. Just a point of clarification. The cross parking agreement, we're asking them to obtain the facility of 20 parking stalls in that agreement or just a cross parking agreement?
Just a cross parking agreement.
Okay.
I'm assuming if they're gonna have an agreement, it's gonna be more than 4 or 5 parking spots in either direction. Assumption
And I think that's fair, but calling out,
to have on the next side over.
or would we be concerned if there's any limit? Because I'm thinking of the signs, this such and such parking only.
That's the point of the cross parking agreement.
Got it.
Wouldn't that solve that problem?
Yes,
If they don't want to let them come over, that's part of the agreement.
correct. Yeah. Does that satisfy?
Otherwise, they're not gonna sign the agreement.
Yeah, as long as it's an agreement with no stipulations, but you could have an agreement with stipulations that you only get 4 parking spots. That's what I'm calling out. I'm not sure that the assumption gets you there. So if we want to be clear about it, now's our chance. If we want to leave it ambiguous and just whatever is in the agreement, then that's what we'll get.
But Sean? Got a comment?
How many spaces are we short?
20.
20.
Okay. So if we say in the amendment that we need to have 20, at minimum 20 more parking spots in the shared agreement.
I think that provides the clarity that would prevent something
Okay.
from surprising us.
Okay, we got a motion and a second with clarification. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Wilcock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Okay, that motion carries. It was a long ways to get there, but we got there. We'll move on to item 7A, the public hearing for the early learning facility. And give me just a second here to pull this puppy up. All right, I am going to open this public hearing at 8:02 and ask the council if we have any ex parte contact or communication related to this project.
None.
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 Okay, hearing none, we'll turn, who's the applicant here? Sean? There you go. You can come up here, state your name and address, please, for the record. I don't know, do you have anything separate besides what we have for the app? Okay, all right. State your name and address, please, for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Glenn Walker, 1831 East Overland Road, Meridian, Idaho. My name is Glenn Walker. I'm the architect that's working on this project, and this project is going to be approximately a 9,500 square foot early learning facility. It's going to be located out there off of 59594 North Star Road. The project is slated to begin hopefully soon. We are anxious to get this in and get it going. The owners of this facility owns a few of these buildings in the state of Washington, and they're really anxious to get this their company and their product here in Idaho. And so we're excited to get them here. As you can see on the site plan, we've kind of accommodated a good amount of parking stalls for the facility, allowed the fire truck turnaround to come into the site and able to back up and then exit it onto Star Road. We do border to the north. The school is to the north of us. And so we've got the back facility, the rear of the facility is facing north, which is facing the school, which is going to be the Early Learning Center's playground area. So as you can see on the site plan, to the north is kind of the area that's the larger yard area. They're going to use that for their playground area. The building itself is kind of more of a residential style architectural Dutch roof, gable entrance. So we feel that the design is a nice design, fits in with the neighborhood. We're going to have a nice mixture of landscaping, site lighting that's going to be on the building, and just we feel that it's a great project.
Okay, is that good?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Any questions of the applicant at this time? Did you have a question, Miss Jennifer?
Yes, thank you. So how many students or children do you hope to, will this hold?
That's a good question. I'd have to go back and look at the actual, I did do a quick code analysis, but I think if just going off memory, they're looking at about 70 to 80 children.
And is this like a pre-kindergarten?
It's going to be from children for all the way ages up from 1 year old all the way up to about 12.
So 1 to 12, and then the school hours?
Yes. Yeah, they're going to be operational where they'll be coming in, dropping the children off somewhat kind of more in the early mornings and then picking them up around the 5 o'clock hour. There's this facility really isn't going to be running much more past the 6 o'clock hour.
Okay. Because we do like the traffic with the school right there is a big in the morning from 8:45 till probably 9:15, and then in the afternoon. And so traffic. But so your hours, like the main traffic coming in and out, will that be at the same, it sounds like it wouldn't be at the same time as when the elementary school is.
I'm not sure what the elementary school hours are. I would say this facility is more kind of in the 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. Time frame to drop off their kids and then picking their kids up around the 5 o'clock hour.
So it falls outside the traffic. And just for clarification, ACHD is actually going to come up and restripe that. So it flows better by the elementary school anyway this summer. So we'll see how that works. Any other questions of the applicant?
That's all I have.
Okay, none, hearing none. All right, sir. And give me your name again.
Glenn Walker.
Glenn Walker, okay. All right, and I got one person that signed up to speak. Mr. Ted. You're good? Okay, so, no, can't add you to the list, Michael, you know better. You got to sign up. That's not this building. It's a single story. Okay, hang on, Michael. What's the height of the building?
I'm not too sure what the peak height is. If you go to that, zoom in and see what the plate height, I think the plate height's only 10 feet. So I doubt it's going to be that high.
Right, so
That plate height's only 10 feet.
So you'd have to follow the 35-foot height limit unless you wanted to ask for modification in a development agreement.
Okay.
So, okay. Hearing any, did you want to rebut yourself or anything or any further questions of the applicant?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
what sort of finishes are you looking at applying on the exterior and the roof?
The architectural shingles will be the roofing. And then we're doing siding, lap siding, hardboard lap siding on the outside, painted.
And the vertical exterior, still the hardboard, just a different.
Yeah, we're gonna do a mixture between lap siding and board and bat.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant? Okay, hearing none, it's, what is it, 8:08? We're gonna close the public hearing and go on to council deliberations. Thank you, sir. Council?
Mayor Chadwick,
Yes, sir.
it's really hard to get into a daycare facility. And I love that we've got another one coming into town. I'm supportive of the application. At this point, I'd make a motion unless I get a signal that you guys want more deliberation.
You can make a motion, they can discuss.
I understand, but
Yeah.
just want to make it as clean as possible.
I've
So-
already done that once. I'm good.
So I'm going to move that we approve the public hearing approve the application for the Earning Learning Facility CUP 22-01.
Okay, we got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We got a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
other than we've been waiting for this for 25 years. No,
Right.
We're good.
Right.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
I'll just add for the record that I do find that the application meets with our code requirements, it's consistent with our comprehensive plan. And that I find that it fits well within our city.
Okay. Duly noted. Any further comments? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Wilcock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
I
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to item 6B, the public hearing for the Hayden Homes easement vacation. Let me pull this one up here. Oop. It's 8:10. We're going to open the public hearing for the Hayden Homes easement vacation. I'm going to ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication regarding this project.
none.
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 Okay, hearing none. Do we have a representative for Hayden here? Okay, go ahead, sir. Go up there and state your name and address, please, for the record. And the floor is yours.
Good evening. I'm Alec Agarola, 332 North Broadmoor Way, Nampa, Idaho 83687. I'm a land use planner with TO Engineers, representing the developer of Trident Ridge Subdivision, Hayden Homes. So we're here tonight for an easement vacation application. We're looking to, as shown here, vacate a public utilities easement 10 feet along North Wing Road and Scenic View Lane, and then 6 feet wide along those common lot lines there. And with that, we are replatting the remaining phases of Trident Ridge Subdivision. It's kind of a clerical item to remove these utility easements so we can plat for those future homes that will be where those utilities be located. And with the replatting, that will come with public utility easements per city code. Those public utilities easements, as you can see here, are from the formerly platted Karma Crest Estates, platted back in 1992. And I have received pertinent letters of relinquishment from the utility providers that may be affected by these. So I provided those to staff and has shown that we are free to go to get those removed. So I kindly ask for approval of our easement vacation application.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? I just got questions of staff, Sean. So we got all the appropriate letters on file for the easement vacations, correct?
Mr. Mayor, Council, yes, we did. And our city engineer also has reviewed the application request and is recommending approval.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant at all? Before there's no rebuttal here, so if there's nobody else signed up to speak. Okay, so we will have you, we're done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's 8:12. We'll close the public hearing and move on to council deliberation.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
Pretty straightforward process. And again, from what I see in the packet and what we've heard here tonight, it sounds like we have all the letters in place, all the conditions are met as required or may be required by our comprehensive plan and zoning ordinances and other regulations. I move that we approve the easement vacation application VAC-21.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Wilcock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
I
Okay, that motion carries. We're going to move on to the next item. Thank you, sir. I just want to make sure everybody signed up on this one that wanted to speak. Addington, Michael, did you sign up on it? Okay, good. All right. So we'll move on to item 7C, the Addington Subdivision Public Hearing. It is 8:13 and we'll open the public hearing and I'll ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication related to this project.
None.
None.
Okay, hearing none. Who is the applicant? Oh, there you are. Wow. Do you have a separate? Okay.
I haven't left my.
Okay, well, we'll get this up. If you don't mind stating your name and address, please.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. Tamara Thompson with the Land Group, where our offices are at 462 East Shore Drive in Eagle.
And you should have the clicker up there to move your slides along and just point it up this direction here.
Point it at
Up
you.
here at my computer, yeah.
Okay. All right, tonight we are here for the Addington Subdivision. And this property is 5.5 acres. I've highlighted it in blue there. It's approximately 780 feet north of the intersection of West State Street and Highbrook Way, that new traffic signal there. And this just zooms in a little bit. I did this one so that you could see the, Ensley Court to the north that was is recently constructed. This property was annexed and zoned as part of the Albertson Center. So we'll go to the next slide here. Our zoning is R7 on the property, and you can see the outline of it, the thick outline. And then our site plan, I combined all of them. So you can see the Albertsons in the C2 zone. And then what we're talking about today is the Addington subdivision between that and Ensley Court. So with our annexation back in 2017, we provided a concept plan, and what we're showing is consistent with our concept plan and with the R7 zoning. So here you can see it a little bit better. Actually, I want to go back real quick to the aerial. I just wanted to point out that the ditches that used to bisect the property, there's some down closer to Highway 44, and then some where this development is, that those were piped with the to facilitate the commercial development. I'll go back to this. So the applications before you tonight are a preliminary plat and a private street application. The preliminary plat, again, is consistent with our concept plan when we annexed the property back in 2017. It includes 34 single-family lots and 1 common lot that includes the private road. The subdivision is proposed as single-family, but with attached units, so townhouse type units. The density comes out to 6.09 units per acre. The access to the subdivision is from Highbrook Way. So the access comes up Highbrook from State Street, and then you can navigate through here. We are not proposing anything but emergency access onto Center Street. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is we didn't want to provide just a thoroughfare through here. And second, because of the underground, the piping of the canal that was there, I think it was drainage 9A is what it was called. ACHD won't take that because that facility is underneath that road. The utilities are available. I'm getting ahead of myself. The other thing I wanted to point out here is the location of the Albertsons with the residential units, that there is a nice landscape buffer already on the Albertson side. That was 31 feet on their side. And I highlighted that here. And then their building sits back approximately 70 feet from the property line. So back to this site. The utilities are available to support the project, and the open space that we have has a nice area here closer to the entrance. We've got a little gazebo building, a shade structure with some seating. And then with the tiling of that canal that runs underneath the private road, our sewer utilities are coming through the backs of the properties, but that allowed us to provide walking paths in those areas. So we will have walking paths that activate around the backside. And then one of the other cool things is just across Highbrook from this location. The Noterra project to the immediate west provides a multi-use pathway that will get you through that development all the way to Canada. All right. There will be a homeowners association that will be created to provide the exterior maintenance, including all of the exterior maintenance of the buildings for the townhouses and for the landscape and irrigation. The irrigation will be an extension of the pressurized irrigation system that was constructed for the Ensley Court subdivision. And to our staff report. We've read the staff report and agree with staff's conditions and proposed conditions and findings with a few exceptions. On so I'm on page 13 of the staff report, staff's conditions of approval number 2. This one references that a development agreement shall be signed and recorded as part of the annexation and zoning. And again, this property was annexed and zoned in September of 2017, and it is included in the development agreement. That is ordinance number 264 that was signed in December of 2017. So this condition doesn't apply. So we're asking for that to be removed. The second one is number 3. And this one has to do with the private roads. We do have, and I have a cross sheet for you here. We do have a unique situation with all of the different facilities that are in here and the irrigation facilities that all of our, if you look at the cross sections, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I've tried to highlight those for you a little bit on the plan view, where starting from the west moving east, the cross sections go 1, 2, 3, 4. So those line up with these numbers here. The easements are all 50 feet in all of the situations, but we do have different paving widths. In number 1, and that one complies. That one has a 36-foot pavement width. Number 2 pinches down a little bit to 34.5. And number 3 actually has the biggest pinch point down to 21 feet. And then number 4 has 37 feet. So 1, 2, and 4 all are very similar to the condition, but number 3, there is a pinch point here. And one thing I want to point out is that in all of the situations where we have the wider street section, that we do have on-street parking. So with the 34 units, each of them has a 2-car garage, and then we also have 34 additional parking stalls on the street with parallel parking. So we respectfully request a waiver for the private road as proposed in these 4 street sections. And then number 4 talks about active open space or usable open space. And we did provide staff with calculations for these. So with the areas that I have highlighted in green, which do not include the street buffers where the sidewalks are, we have a total of 42,910 square feet of usable common area, and that equates to 17.74%. And then number 5 is a revised preliminary plat to show a cul-de-sac at Center Street, or to make Center Street, or to make that a public road. And again, we can't make it a public road because of ACHD doesn't want it. They won't allow the road to go over those facilities that are already undergrounded. But we did look at including a cul-de-sac at the end in lieu of, so what we were proposing before is just an emergency. We had a T here for a turnaround for deliveries. And then we had bollards where the emergency vehicles would break those down if need be. We have looked at it though. We can provide a cul-de-sac at that location. And then the unit that we have at the entrance is a smaller unit. We can, we don't lose any units. We can just use that smaller footprint that we have. So that one we're fine providing a cul-de-sac. The only thing that I want to mention is that through the process, if we do not need this connection to center as far as an emergency access, that maybe that's not needed any longer, that we just provide that, or if it is, we're fine to do that as well.
Sorry, can I ask you a question? So that that was a question I had. So if we had the cul-de-sac, you could still have the bollards there for emergency access if they needed to get people out, right?
Mr. Mayor, we could, yes.
Okay.
I don't know, we didn't go through this with the fire department, so I'm not sure if there would require that, but if that is something that the city would like, we can accommodate that.
Okay.
We today, just at the end of the day, we received a recommendation for approval from the city engineer. I'm not sure if you saw that letter, but I was happy to get that at the end of the day before heading over here. The Addington Subdivision, again, is consistent with the 2017 concept plan and the development agreement and zoning code. And with the small modifications that we've mentioned for this conditions of approval, such as we request a council waiver for our road cross sections and request that condition number 2 be deleted as it's not applicable. We respectfully request your approval tonight, and I will stand for questions.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? Oh, everybody jumping. Mr. Nielsen.
Thank you. Can you talk about the purpose of the road going down to the narrower width in section 3?
Yes.
So you're talking this one that goes down by Albertsons here?
No, the one go up a little bit. There's just a narrow neck. Right? Yep, right there.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
right in there. So at this location, there's a utility box here that you can see that we're working around, and it still provides 21 feet in this area, which for a private road is adequate. And the only thing that we wouldn't have is in this location, we would not have on-street parking. So at the entrance, we don't have on-street parking here, but then we do start at this location. And so it's all on the south side here, and then no on-street parking at this location. And then it starts up again on the north side once we get over to this western section. But we are working around some facilities there.
So on the south side of the road is their facility?
On the south side,
Like right where that tree, I mean, what is this right here?
I need to pull the plans on that. I do have those with me if you'll give me just a second.
Okay, yeah.
While she's doing that, maybe staff knows what kind of enforcement for no parking is available on a private street.
Mr. Mayor and council member, it would be the responsibility of the HOA to police that since it's private.
Yeah, so no actual policing of that. But if somebody did park, they'd have to put that in their covenants to, and have a tow service or something like that, right? Okay.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, that there is a storm drain inlet on that inside with, but it does not look like there's anything that like a underground box.
So you could feasibly put a storm drain in the road and widen the road if that were the case?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Wheelock, it does look like that we could widen it just a little bit. That's true. My cohort mentioned that if we eliminated the detached sidewalk, so in this location, we have a detached sidewalk. If we could make that an attached sidewalk and move the curb line to the sidewalk, we could definitely get a lot more room in there,
Just for that section?
just for that section.
That
Okay.
seems reasonable.
We just don't have an appetite for narrow roads anymore here in this town. At all.
Sorry about that.
So, and then when you got a gentleman that drives a crane that has a hard time getting around everywhere, also that makes it even more difficult. So anything we can do to widen that section there, even on private streets, right, for Star. So
He visits his neighbors at the crane. Is that what?
that's right. That's right.
I think that's all my questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilwoman?
Yes, thank you. So can you first, regarding the pathways in the back of the properties, or what type of surface would that be? And is that open to the, I'm guessing it's not open to the public, it's just for the residents in that development. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Solmonson, the pathways as designed are a natural surface. We're not proposing those to be paved. There are sidewalks on both sides of the road if someone wants a paved path. A lot of times people want a natural path for walking their dogs and stuff like that. So those are natural paths, and we're not proposing to dedicate those to the public, but the public, nobody's going to be policing that. So, the public could use those unless they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, and then they would have the right to ask them to leave.
Are there fences along the outside of the boundary?
Yes, Councilwoman Solmonson, there are fences around, and I did bring a cross-section of that in case you asked. This is in our application as well. So for the Ensley subdivision, we have this lower fence that's at 5.5 feet. And one of the property owners over there added this other 3.5 foot height to their side. And so it's just on 1, maybe 2 yards on Ensley, and it looks really nice. And so we have talked to the neighbors, and we're planning to add that additional height to the rest of them on our north property line where we abut the adjacent neighbors.
All right, so just so I'm
Let
make
me
sure
go
I'm
back to
following
that, yeah.
correctly. So we have the backyard, and then we have their fence, and then the like the gravel pathway, and then it's open. Is that correct?
So each of the units have their own little backyards.
Yep.
And so we will have, so this is, and if I go to this other one that shows you everything, you might see it a little bit better. So on this north property line, that 5.5 foot fences already exist. That's there.
Okay.
And so along this line, we approximately right in here, we would start that additional height and bring it to the rest of the way. So you're correct that it has that fence, and then it has a walking path here. And then each of the units have their own little backyards. And then the units themselves, the townhouses.
Got it. Okay. Can you explain So you said that ACHD does not allow roadways to go over, like a public street to go over the piped irrigation. Can you tell me about that? I haven't heard.
So there is let me go back to one of these. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. You can see underneath this kind of so this is the piped area down here. There was another facility down here. So you can kind of see that. It almost looks like a road on top on there. So that used to be an open ditch like what this one is right here. And which I believe now is piped. So everything's piped along this whole section now. But for this location, there where it's been piped, ACHD does not want a public road on top of that, because then you have multiple jurisdictions with the irrigation company and then their road on top of that. So they will take sewer and water, but not a big facility such as this. And it is a fairly large pipe that's underneath there.
Okay, so it's not because, like if the pipe broke and like to repair it or something. So if ACHD doesn't allow it, but then it's okay to put a private road on there, I want to just make sure it's not like an infrastructure issue.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, no, it's not an infrastructure issue. It's more easements on top of easements with different jurisdictions and license agreements and all that kind of stuff.
Great. And then can you go back to my last question? Can you go back to the open space? And just go over that again, that how it does meet the 10% open space requirement.
So on this exhibit that I have here, we've provided the various square footages and where we've included those. So anything that's colored in green is included. And so this section in here is 16,218 square feet. This section here is 12,122. This little park area here that, again, that had that gazebo and seating area, that one's 9,106. And then we have this area over here, which is 3,599. And then this other pathway that comes down here, which will get you to this side of the road. And then again, kitty corner across this intersection here is where you can get to that 10-foot multi-use pathway. But that little one is 1,865. So when we added all those up, we came to 42,912.
And Sean, that was different than the number that you came up with?
Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman, it was just unclear in the review we had. So as Tamara did a good job at clarifying that. So
Yeah,
staff
we just
satisfied.
didn't provide
Okay.
those calculations before. So when he was looking at it, it's really hard to get the square footage without all the dimensions. So
got it.
we needed to provide that for him.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That's
Is that
all
all?
I have. Yeah.
Okay, Councilman Wheelock, he's been eager over here, so.
I've been carefully quiet. So on the north side of the road there, where the fence is going to be raised on the north side of the property, I like that idea. In between that fence and the townhomes, is it going to be 6-foot high fences on that side also? Or is there going to be a 4-foot height restriction or something so that it's not a 6-foot tunnel
No,
of problems?
yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Wheelock, there definitely will not be a solid fence. If anything, there would be an open style fence, but are you planning one? Yeah, something lower. So it'll either be like a 4-foot high or it'll be an open style.
A city dog in, but not,
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I also wanted to ask, how hard would it be to make the roads private as they are, 36 feet all the way through with whatever modifications we need to make to have that happen?
I guess what does it do if you were to make that section there on that 20-footer in attached
And in
sidewalks? What does that
section-
make it?
In section 1 also.
Well, section 1 is 36 feet based on
Right.
her thing right here.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, if we go back to the cross sections that we've provided for cross section 1, which is where we enter, so to the far west end. So-
Including the little bump in.
Well, the little
For
bump
me.
in is where there is a one of those irrigation structures there. So that causes some issues
Up farther on that,
right
all the way to
here.
the end.
All the way here?
Yep, that little bump.
This little bump. Let me look and see what that one is. Okay, so the existing approach is there. If we go back, I should have made one of these where I didn't color it in blue so you can see it better. But the existing curb cut is there. So that's where that comes in. And then we widen out in order to provide the on-street parking.
So, but you can modify that existing curb cut to make it 36 like he's asking.
We could make
Yeah.
that wider. Let me
Yeah.
see, it has a number 9 here. Let me see what that is. That has a new street light. So there was going to be a street light at that entrance.
Okay.
And then we do have an issue where the bump out is here with an irrigation facility at that location.
Can we bump to the other side of the road?
Like
Leave
I-
more green space on that south side and leave it wide?
So the travel lanes are not going to change in those. It's just some of those areas wouldn't provide the on-street parking. So where we come in, the travel lanes are still being provided. And so those don't
But they're-
really change.
What's their width though?
Those are.
That's, yeah.
So on one side, we have 16.5 feet, and on the other side, it's 9.5 feet
With on-street parking, right?
with on-street parking. And that's from the center line of the road. And that does have then a on-street parking at that, for that cross-section 1. And that is a 36-foot wide section at that one. There are a few little bulbs that come into it, but that really just bulbs into the on-street parking. In section 2, we again still have the 17-foot and then 9.5 feet from center line. And then the on-street parking, but those equal 34.5. And the difference there is it may just be the way it's being dimensioned because it has a rolled curb on one side. And so that has a different width to it than just a curb and gutter, if that makes sense to you. And then the section that really is the narrower one is the one where we have two 10-foot travel lanes for 21 feet. But if city council is willing we have a 7-foot planter on both sides actually, and we could make that section wider if we can make those attached sidewalks instead of detached.
So when I look at your number 2, It's showing me that your sidewalk is right up next to the road already.
We do have that in the areas where there are townhouses right fronting it.
So right there where that bulb out's at, where Councilman Wheelock's talking about, that is an actual detached sidewalk section then?
This one.
Or on the across the street is?
It is across the street. This does look like it's attached there. Yeah, you're right. This is attached on the south side of the road. It is detached right in this first part, and then it is attached in front of the units. And then on the other side, we have detached along the units. But this area right here, we could gain back at least 7 feet right there if we made that an attached sidewalk.
So you only need to gain 1.5 feet from what I gather, right? Or how wide is that bulb out section then? Tell me that again.
Which section?
So you're talking right here, right,
Right.
Councilman Wheelock, right here?
That's,
Oh,
yes,
that one. I'm sorry. I thought we were talking 3 still.
we hadn't got to 3.
Okay.
No, but right here, right here, from what I gather, is there is a planter over there on that side that's 7 foot. And if you need to gain 1.5 feet in this entire area here, oh no, so there is no detached sidewalk there.
Just at that bump out is the
Yeah.
only place.
So you could gain 1.5
Have to
feet
lose
on
one-
the top.
You'd have to lose a unit to.
Right.
8 feet, yeah. So that bump out is 8 feet in that location.
I guess, what can you do to make them 36 feet all the way through? I mean, that's the easiest thing. Here's our,
Mr. Mayor, if,
This is a little bit of deliberation. and
well, that's not deliberation. It's with the applicant to find out what they can do to make them 36
I
feet.
understand, but maybe not everybody cares that it's an 8-foot bump out.
No, I get
I
that.
want to understand why.
The 36 feet? Well, because so here's the deal. Typically, we're not giving right now any, and we have been for a while, any exceptions on street widths, regardless if they're private roads or public roads, right? And so is there a way to make them 36 foot wide in case the association fails to maintain them and has to give them back to ACHD, according to the City of Star standards? Right? So
Mayor,
that's the
we've made
concern.
Exceptions for private streets several times.
In the past, you're right, but not recently.
Yes, we have.
I disagree.
2022?
In 2020, not this year we have.
I'll define recent.
Well, I'm defining the recent,
Since I've
recently.
been on the council.
And so
Yes.
that's where we're going with this, because I got several comments to make here on this too. So, yeah.
so
I mean, even if you got a big rig that you got to drive down there's no parking that can happen right there. You can drive right down the middle. I mean, it's a private road, hardly any traffic on there. I think we're taking a lot of time over something that's really pretty insignificant.
Pretty significant to me.
But
I think safety matters enough.
right.
To have it be wide
For the 20 seconds that you're going to drive a crane through there,
for the 20 residents that are going to live there forever with their kids.
We keep it at 36 feet for a reason. I have a concern on doing these private streets that narrow when it comes to an issue in the future. I mean, that's just the honesty about it. I get what you're saying, Kevin. I completely get it, but I think differently. I mean, if we can fix it now, fix it.
Mr. Mayor, the fire department requires 25 feet. In most instances, they did approve that, or they didn't have a problem with that 21-foot section. We can definitely make that wider, as I've shown. Had we been able to do it easily throughout, we would have done that. It's not just as simple as bumping out 4 feet on the north side and it all has to have nice sweeping curves, and it takes distance in order to do all these different curves for the roads. So I hear what you're saying, that we need to make it as wide as possible. And if you are open to that, we'll make those sidewalks attached in areas to get to that 36 feet in as many areas as we can, but I'm not sure we can do it everywhere.
No, and I get it. Probably number 3, if you attach them, you gain 14, you make it 35 foot. Right? I mean, that's close to your 36-foot width right there, like we just talked about. Yeah. So, okay. Any other questions? Ms. Tamara? Nope, nothing yet. So I'm gonna just a couple comments real quick on here. So those pathways that you said that are gonna stay natural, I would ask that those be paved. We're requiring everybody to pave these pathways so that they're usable by all. When I say all, that means people in wheelchairs. I got guys right now that are in wheelchairs trying to traverse down even downtown on Star Road or on 44. They can't get through there because of, and they're going out in the traffic, right? I know this is not a traffic situation, but I want to see people be able to use that. So I'm going to ask you to pave that, just like we did on the Notera side on the other side, right? The other part of this is you're asking for us to do a private street. I'm going to ask you for us to approve a private street, to ask you to contribute to our proportionate share agreement that we have with ITD to help widen our state highways that we're, I mean, everybody that comes here sees the pain that we have, right? They're pretty wide. So when I look at that, our average is $1,000 on proportionate share per house, and you got 34 units, it'd be $34,000 that you would add that would help with the widening of that State Street corridor that we're getting ready to do from Star Road to Canada, utilizing that proportionate share.
Mr. Mayor, is that the number?
It'd be $1,000 a unit, yes.
Okay, because we did not have a letter from ITD.
Correct.
And I asked staff if I could get some sort of, and I did not get that number, so.
Yeah, it's $1,000 a unit is where we're at with ITD on proportionate share on these things. So it'd be like a $34,000 contribution towards that widening down there that we're doing on Highway 44. Because that is painful, right now. So that's all I got, the paved road and that, and then as what you can do on aisle 3, item number 3, right there to make that wider. So
Okay,
all I got.
I'll
You can talk to your
talk to
peoples.
my client while the rest of this is going
Right,
on.
you talk to your peeps.
So Mayor Chadwick. I
Councilwoman?
have one more question. So how wide is the total property?
North to south, right?
East
Top to,
west.
east west.
East west.
Oh, east
Oh, sorry.
west?
Yeah, east west.
East west,
Wide.
it's a quarter of a mile.
A quarter mile.
Yeah.
Okay. And
So roughly 1,300 and some odd change feet.
Okay. And was there a report back from West Ada School District? I didn't see one, so maybe we didn't receive one. But I'm wondering about a bus stop, just to make sure, like.
West State is gonna make them go out onto the main road out there. That's the way they've been doing it lately anyway.
Right.
So you can't-
There won't be any buses
Oh.
on the
Yeah.
private road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I figured. Okay. And it's a quarter mile from the end to the other end. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant at this council, or I'm sorry, Sean?
Tamara, real quick, on your north section of your road, between Center Street and where it curves and goes kind of south there, is that did you provide a little pathway to connect to the north? Is that what that little sidewalk stub is? Okay. Would you be okay if we made that flexible to kind of line up with the development to the north that we'll be hearing at our next meeting?
I'm not following, I'm sorry,
So you have
where you're talking.
So I don't think currently we have any sidewalk along Center Street, correct?
not on Center Street, on her interior private road on the north side, there's a, thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, I didn't point this out to you, but part of the conditions from Ada County Highway District is regardless of if you take access to a public street, you have to improve the frontages on those public streets. So on Center Street, even though we're not taking access other than potentially emergency access, we are putting in the sidewalk and improving the street on Center.
Does that answer what you're asking, Sean? Because
Okay.
I think
So, and then I believe what Sean is talking about is I'm sorry, is a stub to the north
Right about,
at that location right there.
yeah, is that what that is? Is that the stuff?
That is a stub to the sidewalk.
You'll be okay with the condition that could be flexible in the location to
As
line up
long
with.
as it happens before it is constructed, yes.
We're hearing that. with this.
If not, then they got to be flexible up there.
Whoever goes first.
Right.
Great, thanks.
Okay, any further questions of Ms. Tamara? At this time? Okay, thank you, Ms. Tamara.
Good questions. Thank you.
Yep, and we have one. Michael signed up for this one too. State your name and address again. And you got 3 minutes, and Mr. Jacob Qualls will be doing the timing. Now.
Honorable Mayor and Council, Michael Keys, 338 South Long Bay Way. As I think most of you know, I'm a giant fan of large scale art, and this private road certainly falls in that description as it's proposed. So I'm glad to see you struggle with trying to figure out how to widen that. A couple other things. I'm generally supportive of the project. I know this was zoned for this density, 6-7 years ago. It's been a minute. It's been a long time ago. I appreciate, Mr. Mayor, that you asked that the path be paved so that it is accessible. However, one thing that I would ask is that either the pathway or maybe even the sidewalks might be a better thing, but there be a public easement so that the public can use that for walking and biking, just for connectivity in the city, that they have an easement somehow to get through there. Probably the sidewalks probably make the most sense. It's the most direct path. I can't really see in the drawings and my eyeballs are getting older, but typically there's a streetlight plan that's approved by ACHD, and because this is a private street, I don't know if there's actually a streetlight plan approved for this, but it's something that you might want to look into and condition if there's not a plan already. And then the last thing is, I just wanted to quote something from the code. When it comes to private streets, it says that they're to be built to 36 feet or ACHD standards, or quote, as determined by the council and Star Fire District. So you guys basically have carte blanche to require this to be 36 feet or make it whatever you want, according to the code. That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay. That is all that's signed up, Ms. Tamara. You're up. Did you have enough time to talk to staff or your people?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Tamara Thompson again. I did have a chance to talk to my client, and the contribution of $1,000 per residential unit is acceptable.
Okay.
The streetlight plan is something that is a condition that staff already has in the staff report. And let me see if I can tell you what number that is. That is number 6, actually, in the staff report. So staff's already covered that. And I guess the only thing I would mention is the natural pathway. Frankly, I'm someone that likes natural better than the paved. I have bad ankles and knees. So with there being paved sidewalks on both sides of the street, I would propose that those stay natural, just to have a variety and not everything needs to be blacktop. But that's my personal preference.
Well,
that like.
I understand. And you gave that same argument, I think, on the last time we were here too.
Well,
But
that's what
my
I
thing
prefer,
is
personally.
sure, but
My
I have
preferences
to also
haven't
look
changed.
at the folks that have ADA issues that cannot utilize. If we're going to count that as open space to all in your development, you may have some folks that have ADA challenges that would not be able to use that natural pathway without it being paved. And I don't care about the crushed granite, because crushed granite, I think, is a joke because it becomes uneven and doesn't work real well after a period of time. right? And so that's where I'm saying, and we do this on all these developments, is require them to pave these pathways on there, whether it's blacktop or asphalt or concrete, it doesn't matter. It's just so it's accessible, right, to folks. So that's my opinion on that. So it's up to the council to decide. That's my opinion.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman?
you're right. We do ask applicants to do that. And I think generally in those cases, though, those are the only pathways that are being provided and they are the source of connectivity. These pathways don't seem to be the source of connectivity. They're contained within the subdivision. The connectivity really falls to the sidewalks, and that's what lines up with the properties to the west of that. And they would be ADA compliant. So I'm just wondering if you're considering that in this as well, that distinction.
Well, I look at this as being a connectivity for a loop within this development for internal circulation. Right. And so on these other subdivisions, the same thing. They still have the same 5-foot sidewalks out front, detached, and we still make them pave the pathways for everybody to use. So, I mean, I think in my opinion, we need to be consistent on that with our pathways planning that we're doing in our city. That's what we're asking for to have done, right? To make them usable.
Yeah, again, though, the connectivity doesn't really.
Well, and that's again, I'm not a voting member on this one tonight. That's entirely up to you guys, but that's what my preference would be on that. So
Appreciate getting your insight.
Yeah.
All right, so in summary and in conclusion, the Addington Subdivision, again, is a preliminary plat and a private road application before you tonight. The subdivision is consistent with the 2017 concept plan that we submitted, with the development agreement and with the current R7 zoning code. We're not asking for any dimensional standards to be revised. We are complying with the zoning code. We are requesting a council waiver for the private road sections with our comments tonight that we will revise those sidewalk locations and to get as much pavement as possible. But I do want to mention, I don't know that we can get to 36 feet everywhere, but we will do our best. And to revise condition number 2, that a development agreement is something that we already are a part of, but perhaps maybe another condition that mentions that ITD condition of $1,000 per residential unit.
So Sean, real quick, sorry, Ms. Tamara, I just want to.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd recommend that we do a DA modification just to address that.
Just for that one item on the DA mod to put that $1,000
We can do
contribution.
an amendment to the existing development agreement.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, for my education, is that something that we then need to come back to council for?
We can, I can draft something up and bring it back with either the findings.
With the findings?
With the findings,
Yeah.
So I'll get it to you and then you can review it and then have it signed and we can bring it back with the findings.
Okay.
And I'll just be addressing that one additional condition to the existing development agreement.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
are we just talking about making a change just to have that contribution included?
Correct.
So the contribution can be just a separate agreement between the city and ITD and the developer. Because the development agreement is more than just this part, right? The development agreement
Well,
covers a lot
yeah,
more property.
the prior development agreement was, yes.
Yeah. So I'm just a little leery about reopening that because that could,
So we can make it as a separate agreement
Sure.
for that contribution.
yeah, under the state code, it's not really a development agreement that they contemplate. It's a developer's agreement is the term they use. And so to me, for the contribution piece, if that's all we're talking about, changing with the existing development agreement, that we just do a separate document
Okay.
between ITD, the city and the applicant to cover that contribution amount rather than going through the steps of reopening the development agreement, because that's not part of this application, right? There's an
Right.
amendment to the DA.
Right,
correct.
that's
So that would
not,
require another public hearing. And so I think we can short circuit that by just doing a developer's agreement with the three entities and
Okay.
capture them.
You got that, Mr. Sean? Okay, sorry, Ms. Tamara.
that's fine. And then, Mr. Mayor, just to, just from what we were talking about there, I just wanted to reiterate that part of our development agreement right now includes over to Center Street Highway 44 and then up this, we were calling that Sample Farm Drive at the time. I don't think it ended up there. And then up and including Ensley Court. So it does include quite a bit of properties. So I agree that that would be the a better route than perhaps
Okay.
going back to the development agreement. And with that, we respectfully request your approval tonight.
And the cul-de-sac too that you spoke of are also right. You're still going to do that on the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mentioned that I don't think that condition needs to change.
Okay.
That was something that the condition already reads, that we either need to do a public street or the cul-de-sac, and the public street isn't an option.
Okay. All right.
So the
Any
other
further
one wins.
questions of Ms. Tamara before we close the public hearing? Councilman? No? Ms. Jennifer, Councilman Nielsen?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Tamara.
Thank you.
It's 9:05 and we'll close this public hearing and move on to council deliberations.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
So I'd like just to get some clarification on the street width conversation. Section 3, I think the applicant has sufficiently addressed that. They're going to make that as wide as possible. The part that I'm not clear on, and really what my earlier comments were about, is in section 1, where we've got some utilities and some other things in there that narrow the road just, briefly for what it looks like to be about maybe 20 feet. And are we talking about requiring them to relocate that and to maintain a 36-foot width in that area as well? Or is that, what are we talking about there?
I think you get it as wide as you can.
Sure.
Within that area.
So that's it, just as wide as you can.
I mean, if you're trying to get 36 feet, you're talking right here at this bulb out right here?
Yep.
So what do you?
That's what my earlier comments were about.
Right.
So are you asking me whether I'm
asking generally, anybody who has an opinion, what are we asking?
But that'd only be the opinion up here.
Yeah, because I'm not clear on what that is.
the simple angles that they're talking about end up having somebody running over the curb to me in that narrowing, which is fine if that's what you want. That's not what I would prefer. So it's, and I recognize that I don't drive in that subdivision forever, but I think it's too narrow for me. I think a 36-foot is safer. And that's kind of where I stand. Firm, pretty much. I understand it's going to be hard, and I understand you can get to 35 in places where one more foot's major. But if you have 35 or 36, that's not as far off as they're talking about in other places.
What happens in places not in Star that don't have 36-foot widths?
I don't have to deal with 36-foot
Yeah,
in
so-
other places.
I think that's a good question. And from things that I have seen online, reading about road widths and sidewalks, the narrower the road, the slower the traffic is. It slows down the traffic. And so to me, I'm not that concerned with the road width in this area because of the density. We need people going slow with that small area and the density. So, and I think, I'm not gonna go one way or the other. If it's not that, like, I'm fine with the way it is right now. I think that little bulb out at the beginning there, if we can avoid that so it's straight, maybe take away that planter. But
You say the beginning, are you talking about?
Right here at the entrance, I think.
Where it's already pre-cut.
No, that's the irrigation utility.
Okay,
There's
so
an
that
irrigation
can't-
piece there that can be moved.
Yep.
So
And the other thing we also have in our code that we're requiring detached sidewalks everywhere. So here, we're making an exception that says, okay, no, we're gonna waive that detached sidewalk so we can get the width. So, we're doing the same thing.
Well, you got conflict. You got conflict
Yeah.
between two codes, but
Well,
you can make it, this is what the hearing's for, and you can
private
make
street
adjustments
too,
for
so
that.
it's
And It's
not
private
conflict,
street, yeah.
it's-
Good point. Yeah.
And that one little thing could be consider a traffic calming pinch point anyway, as they come in.
One thought I had on that is taking the sidewalk around the other side and putting like a bush or something right there that sticks up a little bit so that people can see that. But that, I don't know, I'd make that a condition. That just
Okay,
maybe a possibility. So what I'm hearing is that section 3 is the primary concern as well as the entrance. So we want to see that entrance widened out to meet the width of the road. And then section 3 to get that as wide as possible. And of course, as wide as possible at that where the little bulb out is as well. Is that a shared understanding or at least an agreed approach?
That would be,
I would concur.
yep, that would be fine with me.
Okay.
It's as close as we're gonna get with me.
But you're not here presenting evidence.
I'm not a single vote in 4, so we're okay.
Okay.
They're probably in better shape than I would let them be, to be right honest.
And that's, density wise, the density is fine because remember it was approved originally with 7 and they're at 609.
Yep.
Right, so they meet that. They're gonna do, you guys talked about everything with them. They're gonna do the proportionate share agreement. So I think,
I like the cul-de-sac with bollards. I'd just as soon still have bollards on the end of that for emergency access.
Yeah.
If that's
Yeah,
lost
I
in this
don't,
conversation at some point.
I've got a note here. I don't think that's part of the staff report, but I agree. I'd like to see that as a condition of approval. And also the movable stub road to the north, up until the time.
sidewalk.
Whoever decides the concrete's there first.
Yep.
So I'll also point out that they have bollards on that Y area. The axe goes down south into the Albertsons. So that's not a drive. That's not a, driving lane. There's bollards across there.
Correct.
This subdivision won't access that road into Albertsons.
They won't drive. They will have to go out to Highbrook and across. So that walkability piece, I think, is important.
It's much more important there.
Explain that.
I thought that was
Explain
open.
that one more time.
So right here,
Oops. Yeah, there's bollards there, so it won't allow cars to go through. It's only for emergency access.
That'll end up being a parking lot if nobody's patrolling it.
So there's a place in Meridian I used to live by, that Albertsons, I believe. They have something similar. It's something similar. Yeah, it's just
So tell me about the walkability part of that.
well, because these people here are gonna be walking down here to the store if they don't want to drive.
Okay.
Or if they're gonna drive, they gotta go all the way around.
at 450 gas, I'm not driving that far either.
Yeah, and they can't get out this way.
Depends on how many groceries you're buying.
The east.
So the sidewalk, is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about the walkway
Yeah,
behind the
probably the
properties?
walkway there for the I don't know. I'm kind of torn about the gravel versus the paved. To me, it's more of a circular thing, internal, but it's going to be a busy area. So
Is there a
with the public access, we should probably pave it.
Is there a gravel path? Are we talking above the
Natural.
area A, B, C 102?
No, it's natural path.
That's
So
natural
the
path.
applicant said they did
But
not
there's-
want to make that a public walkway.
Well-
The sidewalks would be, but the others,
They said they wouldn't they wouldn't say there was
Right.
no public, but
But normally
We need to
normally we ask for an
request a
easement
public easement, yeah,
and,
right.
and what they said is no.
I don't think I heard that.
That's what I heard. And we can,
Yeah, that,
I guess, replay the tape.
yeah.
I believe they said no to the improved pathway.
They didn't want to do the improved
I
pathway.
think they were okay with
It was
the
early
You're
on.
right,
It
you're
was
right.
early
They
on,
did say-
earlier than that, in
Okay.
the very beginning.
But we
So
can still,
one of the concerns I have, because it is a public, such a high traffic area there by a grocery store, is when you pave that, you invite additional traffic. And, I'm thinking of the future residents that they're gonna have, a public easement 6 feet off their back porch. To me, that's not an appropriate thing for a city council to do.
That's why they have it. That's why they call it a townhome.
Yeah, well, no,
and I mean, like, look at Target. They have it around there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not looking at Target. I'm
Yeah.
Do we?
looking right here at Star.
Yeah.
We have a motion.
Sorry.
So,
Any more discussion? Can you guys,
Mayor Chadwick, I'll make a motion that we approve this application with the following conditions as included in staff report, that section 2 of the recommendations in staff report is modified to read that a developer's agreement will be created to provide for the ITD proportionate share
you want to list the amount?
for
Just so it's clear.
$1,000 per unit.
Yep, thank you.
That the section 3 identified, that the road identified as section 3 will be widened as much as possible, but including, by method of removing the detached sidewalk or making the detached sidewalk and attached sidewalk stays. But whatever is required there, the section 1 will be widened to 36 feet in all areas or as close to that as possible. Especially calling out the entrance into section 1 off the public street, be widened to 36 feet. The stub road to the north, the location can be flexible to align with that development up until the time that the sidewalk is constructed. And that emergency bollards are included at the end of the cul-de-sac bordering Center Street. That's my motion.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I would support that. I would second.
You'll second?
Yeah.
Okay, we got a motion, and a second. Any further discussion?
I could support that much easier if it were with the pathways paved.
Sean?
What about a public easement on the sidewalks?
My motion stands.
No public easements on the sidewalks?
On the sidewalks? Yes, on the sidewalks,
None on the pathway.
not on the pathway.
Okay, you modify your second?
Nope.
No, okay. So will you second it? Someone's got to second it or it dies.
Nope, I want the public easement
On the
on the
pathways?
pathway.
We didn't discuss that with the applicant for a public easement. on
Oh,
the
yeah,
pathway.
you're right. I apologize.
So the
So we can't-
the public easements on the sidewalk, that's what the applicant agreed to.
Okay, and we can't require a public easement in a condition,
You can require it.
but that's not part of your motion.
That's not part of my
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah. Would you be willing to change?
I am not willing.
Oh, geez.
So we got a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, so Chris, if that dies, we go for a second motion?
Well, you already have a motion that was seconded.
Well, he's not willing to, well, okay, we do have a motion that
Right,
wasn't
so the
second with the
Was
modification.
not seconded. So we're still back to the original motion. That would not include the public easement on the sidewalk,
Correct.
but you still have a motion and a second. that has
We
not been
do.
voted on.
Okay, so hearing no second, we'll go back to the original motion and second with no public easement on the sidewalk. And so we'll do,
No, on the pathway.
no, on the
No, on the
sidewalk.
And I'm okay with that because people will use the sidewalk anyway. They're not gonna be worried about it.
Right, so we got a motion and second. Roll call. For all in favor, roll call.
Wheelock,
No.
Salmonson,
No,
Nielsen,
I'm going to say no to my own motion.
Okay, so Chris, can we do a modified, a new motion?
Yes.
Okay, I would entertain a new motion. Be clear.
Okay.
Well, it
so
was
if
very
you
clear what
wrote
Sean,
down
it was very
every-
clear what Kevin said.
Okay,
so.
so I would move to approve everything that Councilman Nielsen stated with the addition of a public easement on the pathways
Pathways or sidewalk? We didn't discuss
and
pathways.
and sidewalks. I want both of them.
Okay, so we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, geez, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
I'd still like the pathway paved,
Oh my gosh.
but I would support that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
Can I amend my motion for paved?
You can. You can amend it before we get to the vote.
Yeah, I would like to amend my motion to include paved pathways.
Okay, regardless if they're asphalt, they could be blacktop or concrete, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We got a amended motion. We got amended second.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Well, you can't amend my second.
but if you didn't refuse to amend that, he can,
I would second it over your amended second.
I will let you second over my non-amended second.
okay? All right, we've turned into a show. So roll call.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Salmonson,
I
Nielsen.
I
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, it's 9:20. We need to take a 5-minute recess before we get into the next one for facilities. And then we'll be back at 9:25. Okay? Are you downloading that, Sean? Is that what you're doing? Okay. Are you good, Sean? Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I'm gonna wait just a few minutes for our city attorney to get back in here on this before we get going. All right, Chris is back. So I am it's 9:27. I'm gonna call this council meeting back to order. We're gonna move on to item 7E, the public hearing on the area of impact. I did say the time, right? Oh, well, it's 9:27. I guess I will open this public hearing. We do not ask for ex parte on this one because it's not, or do we? It's legislative, right? Okay. I'm going to give you a little history on the area of impact, negotiations and stuff that happened back about a year ago, about this time frame in March. Canyon County asked us to enter into the Committee of Nine to determine an area of impact for the City of Star in Canyon County. We had 5 or 6 meetings over that 6-month period of time. And in November, we approved an area of impact and an area impact agreement with Canyon County. I believe it was January, or February. It went in front of the Canyon County Planning and Zoning Commission where they denied the area of impact agreement. And then here, about a month ago, I would guess, March-ish, late March timeframe, the Canyon County commissioners approved the area of impact agreement. And so this area of impact, as part of this process that we're required to do with the state, with this Committee of Nine, this is the area of impact. You see with the dotted lines that are here, that was agreed upon between the city. Well, there's 9 representatives. By state statute, there's 3 county commissioners, 3 city elected officials, and 3 folks at large on that committee. And so the 9 committee members ended up approving this. When the map approval was a 5-3 vote, I think, for approval with 1 absent, but the ordinance itself was a 9-0 vote. So to kind of line up everybody with where we're at, tonight we're here to approve this so we can give it back to, it's a back and forth thing. So we give Canyon County let's go back to December. We initially approved the initial concept. It went, and then now we're back to this point, we're officially adopting it as an area of impact for the City of Star all around. So with that said, do we have some questions or comments before I turn it over to a public hearing or open it up to the public? I'm sorry.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
I'll just add to that, the 3 committee members at large, 2 of those were residents of Canyon County and 1 of those was a resident of Ada County.
Okay.
And all 3 live in the county and not within a city limit.
No, 1 did. He did.
Oh, that's right. That's correct.
Before he ran, yeah. No,
But property is not annexed. Yes, it is. Is it?
it has to be in order. Otherwise, he would not be sitting here.
That's true. That's true. So I apologize for being a little unclear on that because the regulation was just within the area, right?
Okay.
So
we're going to open this up. It is, I had already opened it with you, but I'm going to bring up Mr. Steve Burton. Oh, that's good. And did you give a copy to Jacob yet? Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And make sure you state your name and address, please, sir, for the record up there.
My name is Steve Burton, and I live on 6915 Canyon Bend Court, Star, Idaho, but in Canyon County. Now, tonight, I didn't know you had the revised land use map. So one of the items in this dissertation here, you possibly have covered it. So
Okay.
we'll go into this. So since this is a public hearing, there should have been notices sent to residents in the affected area. I have received nothing. Councilman Nielsen made the comment during the Committee of 9 meetings that public notice was sent out a year ago, but a check with the city clerk revealed no written notices were sent out. And again, I checked with my neighbors and no, we did not receive any public notice. The only way I knew about this was from the Canyon County Commissioners. Canyon County's approval was forced into this path due to the Committee of 9 negotiations. Canyon County Commissioners are not in favor of the proposal. Their approval was the only way to get the issue to a vote to the constituency of the affected area. Most of the people who live in the affected area do not favor being in either impact areas of Star or Middleton. They would rather stay in rural Canyon County. Unfortunately, when the matter comes to a vote, that option will not be given. You should consider the compromise that the county commissioners proposed during the Committee of 9 negotiations. If you guys recall, this is the map that the commissioners proposed during your negotiations. And I don't think it went anywhere, but this is something I think you guys should go back and reconsider. Okay, you should avoid, let's see. Okay, yeah. You, by going with this plan, you would avoid the public discord, a costly trial with Middleton that's ongoing right now, and negate the need for a vote from the constituency of the affected area. People in the affected area are going to vote for the city that offers the least dense housing. Currently, the area is designated as agricultural or rural residential. Right now, Middleton is following the Canyon County Comprehensive Plan for rural residential zoning as they grow to the north and east. In order that Star gets support from the constituency, because when it comes to a vote, I respectfully request that with this proposal, the area be designated rural residential with a maximum density of 1 house per 2 acres or 1 house per acre, like the developments that exist in the area today. This level of housing will fit with the existing agricultural landscape. It will create less stress on the infrastructure and cost less to provide services. And I have emails from Director Nickel and Mayor Chadwick stating that they favor this type of zoning and would take it up with the city council. Hopefully you will do that tonight. And that's why I apologize. You did start the process tonight.
That's okay.
So
It's good to have it
appreciate
on the record there. So
So thank you. Consideration.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
Thanks. Mr. Burton.
Yes.
I just want to clarify something. You know, you've noted here about my comment during the Committee of 9 meeting. And I did make a comment about notices being sent out. And I just want to be clear that that comment wasn't notice for this meeting.
Not for this meeting, because the question you were asked by Commissioner Van Beek.
Well, I just want to address what you've testified here tonight. You don't make that distinction.
Okay.
So how it reads is notice about this meeting. And just to clarify where that comment and that notice was about, was about the comprehensive planning process that the city of Star undertook with its residents. And everybody who was within an affected area did receive notice on that. So my comment stands, and that is the fact. So, and then another thing in here, Canyon County's approval was forced into this path due to negotiations. And I would want to hear from each of those county commissioners who voted. And I believe, I mean, I was there, I was present. I didn't see any coercion or force. And so I think that a comment like that isn't really helpful for the public discourse.
I think he's referring to, were you at the public hearing for the Canyon County Commissioners portion when they approved it? Because I think that's what you're referring to, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, not the time at the Committee of Nine
Well,
approving it.
his statement reads that they were forced into this path due to Committee of Nine negotiations, and negotiations weren't taking place at the public hearing. So that's an important distinction. And if that's what it's about, then I can't see that anybody could be forced in a public scenario. That sort of coercion is illegal. Maybe they felt like that was a pathway to, that they wanted to take, but nobody has to vote any particular way. That's my only point.
May I respond, Mayor?
Yes, sir, you can, absolutely.
Okay, so yes, to make the distinction, the vote that the commissioners made was just a month ago, the one that Mayor referred to, in order to get the process moving. Under legal counsel from Canyon County, they were advised to approve the plan, the STAR plan, in order that the city of Middleton could object to it, and that would put it into a vote by the constituency. So that's what trying to make that distinction.
And I would call that a strategy and not force, because they could have taken a different approach.
I see.
And just to be clear, I believe the legal counsel even brought that up during the Committee of Nine negotiations as well, that was the process. And he even brought it up at the Canyon County, not the commissioners, but the Planning and Zoning Commission at the same time, I believe, as well. So,
And Mayor, if I can,
Sure.
Mr. Burton, I don't bring that up just to pick apart the way you worded things. I think it's really important in our public discourse that saying things like people were forced one way or another makes it feel like people don't have a choice, so that their voice isn't heard and not included. And these things are so sensitive already. I just wanted to be really clear that people do have choices, and that we aren't here to force. Canyon County commissioners aren't forced, and these things are done in public, above board, and according to the law. And I think that's the important distinction, not how you worded it. I really appreciate you coming here tonight and sharing your testimony with us.
and I just I'm going to follow up with this too. The state legislature is going to take this whole area of impact issue up anyway after these elections are done, to hopefully revamp them, right? Because in my opinion, I think area of impact should be realistic to get to over a certain period of time, right?
Correct.
And so maybe we'll see a whole different thing happen here this next year. We don't know.
It definitely needs to be clarified. I mean, that came out in the committee meetings with the Senate, that, there's two sets of laws right now, and it needs to be made into one.
And just to be clear, this whole thing started at the request of the Canyon County Commission. The city of Star did not request this. We were asked to do this with them. So.
I just wanted the map that you showed of the area of impact that the Canyon County commissioners wanted was a half mile outside our current boundary. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And with that, none of the mayors in any of the other Canyon County cities were in favor of that.
They would not agree
So
to doing
we
that.
would have been the only one that was abiding by that, including not just Middleton, but all the cities. And so it's unrealistic to ask us to be the only ones that shrink our district just because we're kind of coming in from the other border. I think that's only fair that we have the same opportunities to grow is the way I would look at that. But I understand your point, but with us having the chance to grow, that's just a guideline. It's not a have to be.
And I just gonna making this decision, the first step would be for us in Middleton to get together and negotiate. And if we can't negotiate and come up with a solution, that's where the electoral part comes into play on that, just so everybody's aware of that too.
Hasn't that period passed?
I'm sorry?
Hasn't that period passed?
No, it has not passed. No, because we still have to adopt it for Canyon County to put our ordinance and their thing, and then that will trigger us, if at their request, to issue into, they can overlap.
Mhm.
You know, it's been clear to us that the area of impacts can overlap unless one chooses to dispute it and ask for it to be pulled back and line up.
Right.
So then at that point, that would be when Middleton would ask us to enter into those negotiations, and then that's when we'll do that. And then it'll go to the vote.
Mr. Mayor, I guess if I'm looking at my crystal ball, you approve this tonight.
Uh-huh.
Middleton's going to object. It's going to kick it back to the commissioners. It's going to throw it into a vote of the constituency.
Well, before that, we would go into, if they object, they can ask for a negotiation
Okay.
on there first,
All
and
right.
then it would kick back over there for them.
And I think we've heard pretty loudly and clearly from the city of Middleton what their position on negotiations.
Well, that's what you guys have heard so far.
Yeah. And maybe.
I'm not
maybe
at
it'll
liberty to
change.
discuss what I've heard
Yeah.
on that, just so you're aware.
So if I could reiterate,
Yeah.
what I'm saying here, the bottom line of what I'm saying here is you have an opportunity to avoid a lot of lawsuits, conflicts, disputes, if you'd pull back a little bit, or, and what I'm hearing tonight, maybe you've already done it, if you are successful in your impact area extension, as long as you're zoning the same way Canyon County is zoning, then we're in good shape.
Well, and if you see what we talked about tonight, that basically falls in line with what you were asking in the letter. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can see it online, but you could have a copy
I
of
was
that if you
looking at
want.
it after I was.
You can have, you want a copy?
Yeah,
You
I
could
would
have
like-
it. Absolutely. We can get more copies. So anyway, I mean, I think,
But there's one, with one exception. I heard Sean say that with the exception of currently approved
currently filed, not approved, but filed
Filed.
applications.
okay.
Correct.
And I think you got to pull back on that.
Well, we can't pull back on that because they have an entitlement right to have a hearing based on that application already.
Okay.
And then my suggestion at the time of that you're talking Willowbrook, I'm assuming.
Correct.
At the time of that hearing, I would suggest you come out and testify towards that hearing about these things too.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
So
Now, will there be a notice?
there will be
of that
absolutely be
public?
notice. Yeah.
Because again, there was no notice for this meeting, this hearing.
So the
tonight.
notice for this meeting that was required was the publication, correct? In the newspaper. That's all the requirement for this notice. That's all that was required. The comprehensive plan changes on there. That's different. We're going to notify everybody about
Which newspaper?
the Idaho Press.
Okay. First of all, how many people in Canyon County read the Idaho Press?
I'm going to tell you,
Secondly, how many people read the public notices? I
well,
mean, you did a good job informing everyone in the surrounding areas about the Willowbrook workshops.
correct.
Well attended, people were
Mhm.
online participating. That was done excellent. Total transparency. That was a great job. And but this, why wasn't there a notice sent out like the Willowbrook workshops?
Well, I get it. I understand what you're saying on that, but we followed what was required to make of this posting for the area of impact. Area of impact, we're not annexing anybody.
Right.
We're not forced annexing. The city of Star has never forced annex anybody. So the area of impact does not impact you unless you're willing to annex into the city.
Well, but it impacts the residents in that area with development coming around. And if the development coming around doesn't follow
Sure.
the current Canyon County.
But you've seen what we're
Comprehensive
doing though
plan.
now, right? We're
Yeah.
reducing
Well,
the
this is a
density and
good
we're working
start,
on that.
but I think you need to go.
Sure.
one
But you need to
step
ask
further.
Middleton, are they going to reduce it too? Because there's a little bit different. I need to
know.
go research that. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I'm with you. I understand what you're saying. I get it. But we do need to get to this process to where we approve it so we can get to those negotiations and have that conversation with them. If that's what they choose to do.
Okay.
You know, and honestly, maybe this next, well, they won't make it effective until next July, but maybe in July, if they pass something in this next legislative session, we have a completely different discussion on all of this. And I would hope that when those hearings come up at the legislature, that everybody goes in and participates in that and provides them with the information that you feel should happen, right? With
I
that.
agree.
So,
I agree.
yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you. Michael Keys. I thought we got rid of you like 5 months ago.
He's taller than I am. Honorable Mayor and Council, Michael Keys, 338 South Long Bay Way. Mr. Mayor, you did correctly note that the Committee of Nine was formed at the request of the Canyon County Commission. I also wanted to put on the record the fact that the City of Star has existed 2 miles into Canyon County all the way to the Kingsbury section road for over 15 years. Over 15 years. It's about time we have an area of impact in Canyon County. I also wanted to put on the record that when Canyon County proposed that half-mile boundary, that the City of Star proposed back that they would adopt that if every other city also adopted it. And there were obviously 0 takers, as you noted, Mr. Mayor, but the City of Star said they'd be on board as long as it was a level playing field and everybody else would do it. At this point, I guess I would encourage the city to adopt this. I think that obviously there's a lot of balls in the air. We don't know what's going to happen with 50-222. We don't know what's going to happen in the next legislative session. There's a lot of gray area in, at least for me, Mr. Mayor, in how your negotiations are going with Mayor Rule. And hopefully you can come to some reasonable accommodation in that regard. I know there have been some things proposed and I would love to see those things move forward. But at this point, I'd like to go on the record and urge the council to adopt both ordinances. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's 9:47. We'll close that portion of public hearing. That's all that signed up to speak. And we'll go to council deliberations. And I just I'm going to put on the record too, that there is no animosity between Mayor Rule and I at all. We actually go to lunch or breakfast once a month and discuss other items that are important for us in this area, especially now that we're the same legislative district, right? So we're working towards the good for everybody. We just have a conflict of a line and that we're working through. So I want to make sure everybody understands that on there, right? So, okay, council deliberations.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
I mean, obviously, this is what we proposed in that committee. This is ultimately what was voted upon and approved. And I'm in favor of moving ahead with this. You know, given the well, I guess I'm just in favor of moving ahead with it. I appreciate the work that you've gone and done, you know, with the legislature, with Mayor Rule and with others. I appreciate the work that the Canyon County Commissioners have put in on this, you know, process that they started, and that, you know, here we are. This is just another step in that process, and I appreciate the service of the Committee of Nine, especially the you know 3 non-elected citizens that participated in that and shared their voices. And with that, I move that we approve this area of impact change.
Okay, and we're gonna have to, we got 2 things that we need to approve on here tonight too. Can we do them at the same time or separate, Chris? Oh, they are?
Yeah, they're 2 separate.
So we need to approve it and then dispense of the rules and all that.
All right, so.
Well, hang on, let's make sure Chris is.
Yeah, just like the ordinances you had on the agenda
Okay.
earlier, the same process.
I'll go ahead and adjust my motion accordingly. Yeah, if you want to zoom in on that to get the numbers. So I move to introduce ordinance number 368 dash. Oh, he did.
Can you read it? Sorry. Is that big enough for you?
I can read it. So I move that we approve ordinance I move to introduce ordinance 368-2022 and that pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50902, the rule requiring an ordinance to be read on 3 different days with 1 reading to be in full be dispensed with, and that ordinance number 368-2022 be considered after reading once by title only.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock, Simonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.
Mayor Chadwick, I move that we approve ordinance 368-2022 area of city impact map amendment and ordinance of the city of Star Council of the Star City Council Ada and Canyon Counties, Idaho, repealing and replacing the city's area of city impact map and providing an effective date.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? And I
Second, sorry.
you got a second?
My mic. my
Oh, I'm
mic's on.
sorry. Is it, you did it with the mic on? Second? Okay. Councilman Wheelock seconded, just for the record. I just want to thank all the people that participated over the time frame too, right? It's a difficult process. This growth challenge that we're all facing right now is crazy. And that's why we have come back and we heard what people are saying, and we're coming back and looking at this comp plan and adjusting our comp plan to move into this new direction that we're seeing in our areas, right? With density. So I just want to make sure that I welcome all this participation. When we do this comp plan amendment, we'll send out letters, just so you're aware on that. It'll be published in the paper, and it'll be published on at our board here and on our website too. So I just want to let you know that. So, okay, sorry. Any further comments?
Mayor Chadwick, just a
Councilman
point of
Nelson?
clarification. Are you committing to sending notices outside of what would? normally
Yes,
be
we're
required?
going to mail out the notices to these folks because this changes everything for everybody.
So
It's a material change, in my opinion, that we need to let everybody know up here what is happening in their areas.
so everybody that would be included in. the
In
new notice.
83669, yeah. So Sean just realized that that's his duty now. Huh? That's all right, get her done. I'm a thing about just the comp plan amendment, the map amendment. Yeah, yes.
You want a copy?
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmon,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Then we're going to move on to the second portion of this where we approve the ordinances that were presented by Canyon County and the Committee of Nine. So we need to introduce,
Mayor Chadwick,
correct? Yes, sir.
I move to introduce ordinance 369-2022 and the pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-902, the rule requiring an ordinance to be read on 3 different days with one reading to be in full be dispensed with, and that ordinance number 369-2022 be considered after reading once by title only.
Okay, we got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmon,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen.
I move that we approve ordinance 369-2022 and ordinance of the Star City Council, Ada and Canyon Counties, Idaho, adopting the codes and plans applicable to the city's area of city impact situated in Canyon County and providing an effective date.
Okay, we got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call. Absolutely.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmon,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. And then I just, real quick, I just think about, I want to reach out to you guys out there, Mr. Burton, if you have neighbors that want to sit down and talk, I'm open to that. So is that all the neighbors? Is that all you got? Okay. But let's schedule a time. Just send me an email and Miss Dana an email, and she'll schedule a time that we can sit down and have a conversation about your questions and concerns up there. I'm completely open to that. So, okay. We won't put, no. All right. All right. So that motion carries. We're going to move on to item F, the executive session.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen.
move that we enter executive session 74-206 F to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency and discuss legal ramifications of pending litigation.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
No.
Roll call.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmon,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. This is where we uninvite everybody out.